me, a young kid, I wake up and I'm like, oh, Mom, somebody's calling. And I thought it was about my dad. Well, come to find out, it was my brother. They told me I needed to hurry up and get to Kentucky, to the hospital. And when I got there, all I wanted to do was go back and see him. And they told me I couldn't go back there because I was, like I said, I was only 10. And they told me he was dead and that he was pronounced dead at the scene. My dad, I think he's one of them that took it the hardest because, of course, you know, I've always been told losing your own son or daughter is the worst experience to ever have. And my dad, me and him have never really talked about it. But, you know, he's seen my brother that night of the wreck. And to my understanding, he was the only one to go back there and see my brother the night that wreck happened and see how torn up he was. I really enjoy the Barrels program. You know, Mr. Jim getting me involved and being able to come and guest speak, that really helped me get my story out there because I've got several friends who, you know, they don't think about it. Like my cousin Troy had told me not too long ago when I'd just recently seen the pictures. You know, he was like, Ariel, they're 17, they're young, all they want to do is speed. Guys like to impress the girls by speeding. And, you know, it really hit me when I seen this program, like, hey, you know, it made me realize more of reality of what happened to my brother, and I was able to find out more information, and it's helped me by talking about it. That video about Dustin Fair, that was the video that really caught my eye, and I was just like, you know, it brought back everything from that night, and I was just like, man, you know, it kind of made me look back on what happened and think about, you know, getting my story out there, like I said, and tell people, you know, hey, don't speed, because I've done it. I've caught myself going 5 miles over 10. But especially when you're going around curves and you never know what could come across right at that moment when you go to, you know, be distracted by either your text messaging, your phone's ringing, somebody's calling, you know, the radio, you don't like the song playing, and when you go to change that, you know, that's when something could happen when you're least expecting it. He's not going to be there for my graduation or my prom. And that's probably the part that's made me really think, you know, sometimes I think, why am I still here? It's not fair. But other times I realize, you know, it was God's plan, you know, and, you know, I'm hoping my brother's in heaven and looking down on me. And I've been told that several times by several people. But it still stinks to know that he's not going to be here for me when I walk to go get my diploma. Hopefully I can get through this. He was going around the S curve, which for those of you who don't know, it's one of those curves. Go like that. He ran off the road, and he overcorrected himself just like most of us would do naturally. It's our instinct. You're running off the road, you don't want to wreck. When he overcorrected himself, he did it a little too hard. He was speeding, going around a curve, and when he overcorrected himself, it flipped his vehicle. He also had another curve he had to get on around. The car just tumbled over and smashed into a tree, throwing my brother 10 feet from the windshield. I have no clue if he was wearing his seatbelt. To this day, 7 years later, it happened in 2002. I still don't know that answer. But what I do know is that he wants me to share my story, and I can get it out to you guys. And hopefully, you know, I know you're teenagers, and when people come in here talking to you, constantly telling you, pay attention to this, do this, do this, do this, you're sitting there going, oh my goodness, when are they going to shut up? But what you don't realize is they do this for a reason. They care about each and every single one of you. And I would not be up here today if it weren't for these guys over here telling me to get my story out there. You know, I'm a teenager. I'm your age. Maybe you'd listen to me more. My brother, he thought he was invincible. You're not invincible. And I know you're sitting there thinking, why is she telling me this? Or as soon as you got out of here, you're going to forget everything everyone said to you. But you need to realize when you're driving and you're out there, you're not invincible. Anything could happen. You know, my brother, I never thought anything could happen to him, and here I am 7 years later having to talk about how he's not going to be there at my graduation, and that he didn't even make it to his own.
I've been married to my wonderful wife, Margaret Ann Williams, for 25 years. She's a teacher at Greenbrier High School. And for 25 years, on graduation night, I've been going to graduation. And it's a great time in Greenbrier. It's a great time in Springfield, everywhere, graduation night. But on that night when the seniors gather and march on to the field for that last time, there's always a chair. And in that chair, there's a rose. And most of the time, that rose is there because there's a senior that didn't make it to graduation. The caps fly in the air. The families all run and hug. But then there's a rose. On your graduation night, don't be the rose. Please drive safely.